Welcome to today's video, Understanding Romans 3 verse 23. For all have sinned, and come short of the glory of God. To fully understand Romans 3 verse 23, it's important to place this verse within its broader context. The book of Romans was written by the Apostle Paul to the believers in Rome. Paul's aim in this letter was to lay out the foundation of Christian faith, emphasizing the universal need for salvation and the grace of God offered through Jesus Christ. In the first chapters of Romans, Paul addresses both Jewish and Gentile believers, pointing out that no one can claim righteousness through their own efforts. Whether Jew or Gentile, all humanity stands guilty before a holy God. Romans 3 is part of a larger argument where Paul demonstrates that the law alone cannot save, but rather reveals our sinfulness and our need for God's grace. Romans 3 verse 23 is a key verse in this section, summarizing the universal condition of humanity, that everyone, regardless of background, has sinned and is in need of God's mercy and forgiveness. Now, let's break down the meaning of Romans 3 verse 23. For all have sinned. Here, Paul uses the word all, making it clear that every single person, without exception, is included in this statement. Sin, in its most basic form, means missing the mark. It's falling short of God's perfect standard of righteousness. Whether through thoughts, actions, or omissions, everyone has fallen short of the moral standard God has set for humanity. And come short of the glory of God. This phrase speaks to the consequence of sin. God's glory represents His perfect righteousness, His holy nature, and His moral perfection. Sin separates us from God's glory because it is contrary to His nature. No matter how good we try to be, our best efforts will always fall short because of our sinful condition. We cannot attain the perfection of God through our own works. Romans 3 verse 23 is a sobering reminder that, without God, we are spiritually bankrupt. It highlights the reality of our human frailty and the need for a Savior. Paul is laying the groundwork for understanding why Christ's sacrifice is so necessary. Since all have sinned, all are in need of God's grace. This is why Jesus came, to restore what sin had broken, to bridge the gap between humanity and God. There's a deeper truth in this verse about the nature of sin. Sin is not just about breaking rules or making mistakes. It's about the deeper condition of our hearts. From the moment of Adam and Eve's disobedience in the Garden of Eden, sin entered the world, and with it, the brokenness of our relationship with God. Paul is reminding the Roman Church, and us today, that sin isn't just something we do, but something we are born into. Understanding this helps us realize that we cannot fix ourselves by merely trying harder to be good. The gap between humanity and God is too vast to bridge on our own. That's why the gospel is such good news. Through Jesus Christ, we can be forgiven, cleansed, and brought back into a relationship with God. His righteousness, not ours, is what makes us acceptable to God. So how do we apply this verse to our daily lives? First, Romans 3 verse 23 humbles us. It reminds us that no one is perfect. We all have flaws, and we are all in need of God's grace. This verse helps us not to judge others harshly, because we, too, fall short. In our relationships, at work, and even within our church communities, this humility is crucial. We should treat others with grace and understanding, knowing that everyone is on the same level before God. Second, it encourages us to rely fully on God's grace and not on our own efforts. Trying to be good enough can lead to frustration and guilt because we will never measure up to God's standard on our own. Instead, we should rest in the finished work of Christ, knowing that He has bridged the gap that our sin created. Finally, this verse calls us to share the gospel. If all have sinned, then all need to hear the good news of salvation through Jesus Christ. Whether it's our family, friends, or coworkers, we should be motivated by this truth to share God's love and mercy with others, pointing them to the only source of true forgiveness and hope. If this video has blessed you, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and share it with others. Leave a comment below on how this verse has impacted your understanding of God's grace. God bless you.